come on. That guy's like not even paying attention. Yeah, I feel better. I'm always better. Oh. Logitech one. I thought the Logitech one was the really expensive one that has this timer. So you set a timer and it starts plugging and it's halfway and then it cuts 2 minutes, 1 minute, and then like that. It different clicks. Like it has a click in it. The other one doesn't click. And then like sometimes it skips 2 slides and it's like skip 1 slide. So it's not reliable. You want to know like
Hello. Hey. Welcome to the Future Web stage. Welcome to the Future Web stage. Is louder? Yes. Okay, thank you. I will just make a short introduction about what is happening today here. I'm hearing other noises. Can you put my mic a little? Test. Okay. Also practicals. Okay. So just a short introduction about what is happening and how the day might look like. And I have here some highlights. We will start with Cristiano Betta, who will talk about, the talk is named "A Credit Card Walks into a Bar," and it's about the future of payments. Then we will hear a presentation from EMAG about a system called ELIS. That means EMAG Listening and Semantic Search Engine. It's based on Apache Solr. And the presentation will be made by Ovidiu Mihalcea and Mihai Stănculescu. Then we will discuss about Scrum, yeah, Agile, what do you like or don't like, or how is Scrum working. So it will be a panel, and in this panel we'll have Artur Kerpician and Guy Duncan. Artur is from, it's senior PHP developer at EMAG, and Guy Duncan is CTO at PayU. Then we'll have a lunch break, 1 hour, from 1:30 to 2:30, yeah, 1 hour lunch break. And I invite you during the lunch break to visit the exhibitors. They have nice things. Then after we'll meet back here 30 minutes past 2. And what we'll have here, Ionuț Codreanu, lead programmer at Ubisoft, will present improving reliability in online games. He will talk about a method of developing software that increases the reliability, and I think also in the web we can take some things from that, from what they're doing in games in order to keep everything up. Then we'll have React, a presentation about React. You asked the question in the beginning, yeah. Bastian Hoffman, senior software engineer and at ResearchGate, he will talk about React. Then there will be another break, 20 minutes break, and then we'll have the last sessions. Andre Liști will talk about creating an authentication server on Raspberry Pi, and I think that's very nice. Then Jorge Diaz will talk about containers, because everything that we're doing in web should live somewhere. And then Martin Naumann will talk about what is wrong and what is right with web and how can we make it right. And then we will finish with Tamas Piros, who will make a demo or workshop about creating a single page application with Node.js, NoSQL and Angular. Okay? So now I invite Cristiano Betta, who is senior software developer evangelist at PayPal and Braintree, and also he's doing a lot of side things, hackathons and other cool stuff. And he will talk about the future of web.
Woo. Okay. My mic on? No?
Hello? Oh, there we go. Cool. I take it you're all awake. Are my slides up yet or not? Can I have my slides? We all had coffee? Everybody had coffee? Yeah? Okay, that means you're now supposed to be awake. You're supposed to actually be here. You're actually supposed to be awake. I normally do this talk after lunch when everybody's like absolutely like falling asleep, like they're like, you know, I've just had some food finally. It's a good one to wake up to, so I hope you're going to enjoy it as soon as my slides come onto the screen. Ah, there we go, finally. Can we have it on both? I need it on both. Thank you. Okay, so credit card walks into a bar. This is my talk. Oh, I shouldn't walk too far. It's a talk about credit cards and e-commerce. And when I thought, you know, I'm going to make a whole bunch of jokes about credit cards, I realized that's really hard. My name is Cristiano. I'm a developer advocate at Braintree. What we do is we do payments. Now, it's really hard to do a talk about this stuff. I started Googling, and there's like absolutely no credit card jokes out there. So we had to make up our own. So this is more of a series of bad jokes. This is me. This is my comedy routine. That's my name, Braintree. You know, very serious guy. So what do? We're a PayPal company. We do payments. We provide payments for all of these companies. You might be familiar with them. You might not be familiar with them. Look them up. They're awesome. I'm not going to talk much about that beyond that, but let's just start. Who wants to hear a good joke? I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. Credit card walks into a bar. He says to the bartender, I've been having a hard time meeting people. The bartender says, wait, aren't you supposed to be good at generating interest? Okay. Let me tell you a story. I have a cat. And he's a bit special. He's very special. He's a bit special. Actually, like, he thinks he's like the king. Sorry, I'm having some trouble with my clicker. There we go. He thinks he's the king of the house, right? He thinks he owns the place, and he's quite adorable. Like, am I hearing some ahs? Come on. Yeah. Right? He's quite cute, and, you know, but actually he has a kidney condition, which means he needs to eat very special food. But people always want to take photos of him anyway. They want to take photos of him. They want to see more photos of him. So I had this, you know, especially kids want to see photos of him all the time, everywhere. So I wrote an application that charges people to see him. You know, it's very high tech. It's, you know, I used everything you're going to be hearing about here today. I used the Arduino, right, connected to a Raspberry Pi, to a webcam with some Node.js using Kraken, and some Bootstrap, and Angular, and then Braintree. And then, of course, it's all responsive, and it's all accessible. And that's, you know, that's the bit of JavaScript I used to do the payments, to do that. And all of that I do so you can see a really shitty picture of my cat. It's a lot of work. I know what you're thinking. I'm an asshole. I'm actually raising money for his surgery, okay? He has a kidney condition, I promise. Now, you want to hear another joke? Yeah? All right, here we go. Credit card walks into a bar. Bartender says, wait, why do you keep coming in here day after day? The credit card form looks miserably at him and says, I'm just looking for some validation. Oh, that guy went full facepalm. Like, he went like, oh, God. There's more of these. It just gets better. No, it doesn't. Okay, so what am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk to you about credit card forms and why they suck. There's a lot of them that are really shit. This is one of them. This is an amazing website. Like, you have to fill in like 1 million fields, and it looks ugly, and it's horrible. And you know what this is? This is an actual website. This is called linestanding.com. It's when Apple announces like a new iPhone or a new watch, right? You can hire somebody to stand in line for you, and it depends on how much you pay them, how long they'll stand in line for you. So if you want to send them like 6 hours in advance, you can do that. Actual website. But what I'm going to talk about is like why do some of these forms suck? So I'm going to look at them in much detail, and I'm going to show you why they're so bad. Now, I want to say that this is because I have done a lot of research, but I've not. So this is not really a scientific thing. This is just things I think you shouldn't be doing when you're trying to charge your customers. Okay? Now, why is that important? This is like a list of like conversion rates on websites. So it's a bit hard to read maybe, but like IBM, you know, these are published abandonment rates by different companies. There's a whole bunch of companies that have done research into this topic about how many percent, what is the percentage of people that come to your credit card form and then actually complete a transaction, right? And how many people abandon that transaction? And as you can see, it's about 68 to 72 to, somewhere between the 60 to the 80, which means that about 20 to 40% only of the people that actually come and have the intent of buying something actually end up buying something. So the fewer steps you can put in between and making that as easy as possible, the more money you're going to make, right? So that's the URL for that. This is already all on SlideShare. The link is at the end. So, let's get started. Number one, you add a CAPTCHA. A CAPTCHA to a payment form. We all know them, right? The completely automated tests, Turing tests, public Turing tests that tell computers and humans apart. Or as we know it, this thing. Right? Who likes this thing? Yeah, you're a web developer who has a lot of fraud or what? And they get worse, right? They get really confusing, and you're like, what? And then it's okay. Up to the point where somebody made this comment and thought, I'm not a unicorn, I'm not a robot. And clearly somebody at Google saw this, and I don't know if you've seen the new CAPTCHA, but it's now this thing, I'm not a robot. There's a little checkbox where you say I'm not a robot. Now the thing is, you don't need it on a credit card form. You don't need it because you're already validating the credit card details anyway. You don't need a CAPTCHA on a credit card form. It makes absolutely no sense. So I'm going to rename CAPTCHA officially now. I'm going to give it a new definition. I think it actually fits better. The completely automated process that causes headaches and anger. Right? Will that do? That's the new definition from now on. It actually fits the acronym exactly, not like the other one. Number two, this one is big on my list too, is you ask people to register before they can buy something. Why? Why do they need to register to buy something? Before you actually want to buy something, right? So this is actually a website, this is a Dutch website. It's quite popular. It's like a daily deal kind of website, a bit like Groupon. Now, what is the point with daily deals, right? These are impulse buys. You come in and you go oh, I want to have that now. You're not thinking. You're it's you've had some drinks. This comes out at 12. You've been drinking. And you're I want to buy that. So you click, I will take one. And then you get to the form, and that's the form. And that's not even the payment bit. They haven't even gotten to the payment bit yet. It's amazing. Or websites that give you the pop-up to get you to fill in a questionnaire before you've even been to the website. You loaded it. It is do you want to let me know what you thought of the website? And you're yes, eat shit. Now, there's a lot of websites that have kind of gotten around to it. So this is Walmart, and they clearly have a continuous guest function. So you can just continue going. Often you only need to fill in your email address. Crate and Barrel, same thing. Just continue as a new customer. Home Depot, same thing. It makes things easier for your customers because it means they can just continue with the thing they want to do, buying something, and then afterwards they can sign up for an actual account. Now, I'm showing you web examples, but you got to think, especially on mobile, this is incredibly important, right? On my mobile, I don't want to go and fill in 50 forms, right? Just let me purchase the thing, and then send me an email, so on my desktop, I can go, oh yeah, I'll fill in the rest of the details and make an account. We can all do that, right? Who here is a mobile developer? Okay, so talk to these guys. Awesome. Another joke? Are you guys ready? This one's extra painful. Credit card form walks in the bar. The bartender says, I haven't seen you in a while. The credit card form looks at him and says, yes, I had to go to jail. I was charged with bad humor. Oh, that was painful. Number three. So you asked me for the credit card type. Now, for those of you not familiar with credit cards, this is what they look like. They're a number. And often you can just see, there's a major industry identifier and then a smaller industry identifier, and then the account number and then a checksum. That's kind of what it looks like. That's very boring. If you look at it like this, you can just see, I can tell from the first 2 to 4 digits, I can tell you whether or not it's a Visa, if it's an American Express, etc. This, totally my own research. You can just find this on Wikipedia. And still, there's websites that ask you for this. Every time you come back to the website, they ask you, what are you using? This is Dell. It's a big company. And they're still asking you for it. I don't know why. I don't know why. And then, any designers in the room? This is, okay, because this is all your fault, the next bits. Okay, so we have drop downs, and then we start looking at, we have like a little radio button with some images. So this one, it looks like it might auto detect, but it doesn't. You need to actually click on those images. And then we have this thing with the radio buttons under the images. And quite often you can't click on the images, you can only click on the radio buttons, which are about that size. And this is Victoria's Secret. My cat was buying something. This one is brilliant. You can click on the images to kind of select what credit card type it is. Now you can fill in the credit card number, and it will auto-select what credit card type it is, but then you can still click on the images and change that. Why? Why? You've just figured out what card it is. You don't need to do that. There's a lot of libraries out there. There's a jQuery credit card validator, which allows you to kind of figure all of this stuff out, figure out what the Visa, what the credit card type is. It's creditcardjs.com, very similar kind of thing. And of course, Braintree, we do the same thing in our integration. You start typing, and it knows, oh, it's a Visa, or it's an Amex, or it's something else. And actually, the cool thing that we've done is that library that we use internally is now open source. So if you want to build this into your app, you can use that. You don't need to use our entire product. You could use just that bit if you wanted to. It's pretty simple like that. You just fill in just a bit of JavaScript, you add a number to it, and it will tell you what type it is. It will tell you what to ask for, what not to ask for, what should the length be, is the length valid, is the credit card valid, all that kind of stuff. So number 4, CV Who. This is about the CVV. You guys know what a CVV is? It's like the number on the back of your card, right? It's that number, except for it's on different places on some cards. So we have entire bits of UI dedicated to explain to people where to find the CVV. They're over there, and then we started adding these little bits of loops. This one's brilliant because that's not actually where it is. That loop isn't actually overlaying where it's supposed to be, so it makes absolutely no sense. And then I love this. This is then we have these little question marks to explain to people where to find it, and it gets more complicated. This one is a full image. And I personally really love this one. CVV is a 3 or 4 digit code, embossed or imprinted. Who cares if it's embossed? Nobody cares. Why specify those 2 ways? It doesn't matter. And the funny thing is, they're not even called CVV. With every credit card manufacturer, they're actually called something else. With American Express, it's just a card ID. It's the card identifier. It basically just goes up. Every time you get a new card, it goes up by 1. It's pretty straightforward. Again, plenty of libraries out there that help you kind of explaining to your users where to find it. These ones are very skeuomorphic. So this one is you have some fields, and then there's an image that will tell people where to find all of these elements. So you start typing, and it's this is a Visa. And it says okay, now you're trying to fill in the month and year. They're over there on your card. And when you reach the CID field or the CVV field, it will just flip over the card and say, hey, it's on the back. It's about there. This one, very skeuomorphic. You actually start filling it in on the card, which is pretty cool. So you fill it in, and then at some point it's just now flip over your card and you can find it on the other side. Now, very skeuomorphic, not really modern design that most people are looking for. We just did it pretty simple. We realized that most people can just find these things. They don't need the explanation. So we did make it that you can kind of, when you type in Visa, it says CVV. When you type in American Express, it says CID. So pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Now what we've done actually is we have this new thing called hosted fields, which allow you to fully customize that UI that I just showed you before, fully customize it to whatever you might want it to look like. You can find that there, and it looks something like this. You can do crazy stuff like this and still get the full, it knows it's a Visa, it knows it's what it looks like. So if you're a designer and you want the credit card form to look like exactly what you want it to look like, You can make that work. This is just CSS. Well, it's a GIF right now, but it's just CSS, right? Okay, number 5. You don't format the dates like there are on my cart. So we've all seen it, like it's the little drop downs, and I don't know, you have a credit card, right? On the credit card it says, it's often is number/number, right? Month, year. It never says March on it in words. It never does, but still, like credit card forms, like they feel the need to put it on there. So they write out the month, but only the first 3 letters to save space. Because, you know, it's so much shorter than the 2 digits it could have been. You know, you see like every variation, like that's kind of the standard ones, kind of like the number or the month. But then we have the month with the number and the number with the month. Why? I love this one personally because it's a bit hard to see. It's like, it's down there. It says expires. It doesn't say what it's asking for. It's just 2 blank fields, no hints, no guidance. I'm assuming they mean month, year, but whether or not they do, you have absolutely no clue. Now 6 isn't really a 6, it's more of a, oh no, sorry, 6. We're skipping 6. We're just not going to do 6 yet. We're doing another joke. Okay? Okay. Whew. Okay, you guys ready? This one is, well, the same. Credit card form walks into a bar. He tries to pick somebody up at the bar. They turn him down. The credit card firm looks at the bartender and says, well, this is awkward. Normally, I'm the one who declines. Yeah, I know. I heard some actual genuine laughs this time. Like, you're warming up. You're warming up. So 6, you don't validate my credit card number in line. Now, you can actually figure out if a credit card number is valid without making any calls or anything. The way you do that is with the LUN algorithm. So you take a credit card number, don't copy it, this is my number. No, I'm kidding. You take a number, you reverse it, you double every digit and mod 9 it. So for those of you who are developers, take note. So like the 5 over here, you double it, becomes a 10, mod 9, becomes a 1. You got that? Yeah, for those of you who are not developers, just find your nearest developer and they'll explain. You then add them all up. And if it's divisible by 10, you have a valid number. Pretty simple, right? So you think most credit card forms would like be able to validate that quite easily. Now, how does that work? It works because the last digit is a check digit. It's a digit that is specifically there to make this formula work. So, this is JCPenney. This is a financial institution. You start filling it in. I filled in a wrong number in. So just to give you an idea, a 4 with, what is it? A 4 with 15 ones is a valid number. So a 4 with a bunch of ones and then a 2 is an invalid number. So did that, submit the thing. It gives me errors everywhere except for in the credit card field. Home Depot, same thing. It's actually telling me I'm not allowed to put any spaces in. I'm like, just don't let me put any spaces in or strip them out. Like, why? Like, what does that matter? This one is Amazon. Again, you fill it in, you don't get any feedback until you actually try to add the card, and then it tells you it's incorrect. This is one of my other favorite payment integrations. They're the same thing. It's not until you actually press the button that they actually like show you what that there's an error. So, how would you do that? Now, actually, we know that your user is not going to be an expert in typing in their credit card number, right? They don't want to be an expert in typing in the credit card number. They just want to buy something. So what can you do to make it easier? The simplest thing that we have is this, what was this? Is there something here? No. Oh yeah, it's that thing again. So we do the same thing where if you type something wrong, it kind of shows up with a nice red UI around it. But actually, like what you could offer your users, and this is specifically for mobile, this is what Uber uses at the moment, is this thing called Card.io. Card.io is a company that PayPal bought a few years ago. They had a really cool bit of software where you just put a card under a camera, it reads out the digits and fills them in for you. Far less error prone, far quicker for your users, far easier, which means you've got to make more money. So, 7. It's not really a 7, it's more of a 6B. You don't know your limits. How long is a credit card? How long is a credit card number? Anybody want to say something? Come on, Mike. 16? Somebody say you said 16. Almost. So Amex, for those of you who have an Amex, will know that it's a 15. Apparently there's 13-digit visas. I've never seen one, and I've consistently been too lazy to actually check why there is a 13-digit visa. But there are. But that means, like, you know, the upper bound is 16, right? Like, we can stop at 16. And still, like, there's companies out there who don't validate. So this is Google Wallet, and you start filling in. So I start filling in a bunch of ones, and a bunch more ones. So you see, you know, it sees that it's a visa, right? It knows that. So it knows it's 13 or 16 digits. And a bunch more ones, and a bunch more ones. And why? Like, why? You know this. You can figure this out. You can validate this. So 7. You don't remember me. Now, this is especially important for a mobile. Like, if you're a mobile, you don't want your users to constantly have to type in their credit card number, right? You want to just have them fill in their credit card number once, and then just, you know, next time, they'll just pray, yes, I want to buy something, buy. Almost every company does that, and there's still plenty of companies out there that don't do this every time they ask me for my credit card. We make that very easy. You just add it to, you store it as a token in our vault, and next time you just say, hey, you know, I want to charge this user. You say, charge that user with their credit card, charge them another, what is it, 20 lei? No, that's not enough, right? 200 lei. Okay, that will do. Like, you know, it's pretty straightforward. And like I said, like, if you want to add security on top of that, right, you can totally do that. Amex, the Amex app, asks me every time to log back in. Every time I use it, it asks me to log back in because they want to be secure, right? Now, you can do that, though, with other measures rather than asking me for my complicated password every time. Because, you know, we all know that if an app asks you for the password over and over again, what do we end up doing? We pick a really easy password. I have random who here uses something like LastPass or 1Password, right? What do we do every time we come to an app that constantly asks it for a complicated password to be filled in on a mobile app? We change it to something simpler that we can type out. It's less secure, actually, because suddenly I know my password. Now, we can solve this with things like Touch ID, right? Touch ID, and we have it now on Android. We're getting the equivalent of Touch ID. You can securely store away a complicated password in the Touch ID keychain, and then, you know, just unlock it with the user's fingerprint, making it easier for your user to buy something, making it secure, and making you more money. We actually did this in the PayPal app now. If you're on iOS and you go to the PayPal app, you can just once secure it with your fingerprint, and then every time you come back, the only thing you need to do is just tap it and go. And actually, like, we integrate that now with something called One Touch, which is if you're in an app that supports PayPal that has integrated Braintree or any PayPal integration, you click on the PayPal button, it just goes to the PayPal app, you tap your finger, it goes back, you're done. That's all you will need to do to pay. It's the simplest thing ever. So 8. We're getting there. You guys still awake? I'm keeping you awake, right? Okay, 8, you remember too much, right? This is the flip side of you don't remember me at all, but you remember too much, and then you lose it. Anybody here ever processed any credit cards and actually touched the credit card details? Like, they haven't used like a payment provider like PayPal or Braintree or any of our other companies. Cool. You know how much of a pain it is to go through like PCI compliance and making sure like you're fully secure, because once you're touching actual credit card numbers, if you lose them, you get a big fine, like an amazingly big fine. And you think, well, it can't be that hard, right? 2014, last year, Home Depot lost 56 million credit card numbers. JP Morgan Chase, this is a financial institution, lost 76 billion. If they can't do it, why would you think you can do it? Staples, for those of you who don't know it, they sell staples. 1.6 million. The solution to this is what we call tokenization. It's where you fill in your customer fills in the credit card details into our form. It gets sent to our servers. We turn that into a token for you, and you receive that token. That token is tied to your account. That token is unique, and you can then use that token from this customer as if it's a credit card. So you can say, hey, I want to charge this token $10, I want to charge it $5, you can do that. But the great thing is, if your database gets hacked and you lose all of these tokens, we just invalidate them. And that's done. Like, we just invalidate them. The user doesn't need to get a new credit card. The user doesn't need, you don't get fined. All of that becomes a whole lot easier and a whole lot more safer for you. And the cool thing is, like, when we started doing tokenization, it suddenly became possible for everything. We added Apple Pay on top. We added, the credit cards. We integrated PayPal, Bitcoin. It's all tokenized. All you get is a token, and you don't actually care if it's a credit card or a PayPal or a Bitcoin or something else. You don't really care. You just say, I want to charge this token this amount. Okay, so one more joke. One more, last one. Credit card form walks into a bar. Bartender says, you're new to this joint, aren't you? The credit card looks at him and says, yeah, I just discovered it. Yeah, nobody gets that one. That's a Discover card joke. That's a US only card. This joke works really well in the US. 9, you have a reset button. I love this one. Who's ever seen a reset button on a form? This is not just for credit card forms, right? This is for any form. Why would you have a reset button? I've just filled it all in. And then you put a reset button? If I want to reset the form, I'll just reload the page, right? I don't need a reset button. And the brilliant one is like, this one is amazing. It's an actual credit card form, and the reset button is on the right. So you go, no idea why they came up with that. Like, yeah, reset buttons. This is, a lot of this advice you could use on any form. This is not specific to credit card forms. This one specifically, if you have a reset button, I will come and slap you. Like, okay, 10. Where was I? This is about, we've seen them all, the hints in fields, right? And hints in fields are interesting because once you start typing in them, you lose them. So this is actually Apple. Actually Apple. It's a few months old. They've changed it since then. So that's the shipping contact. That's the name. And then under there, it says shipping address. And the second line is street address. What's the first line? I've started typing in it, but I don't really know what it is supposed to be anymore. I have no idea. It's not street address line number 1 and number 2, because then the second one would say number 2. You have no idea. Stop doing that. Like, the way we solve that with us is, once you put your credit card into the field, the label kind of nicely moves above. There's a lot of forms that do this these days. There's a lot of libraries. If you're doing web development, there's libraries that help you doing exactly that. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that is exactly the same too. I've seen them for mobile as well. This is good UX. This is good UX because I can still type it in as that and know what it is. Now that's almost it. You want one more joke? Oh wow, that guy in the back was like, yeah! He's gonna celebrate like in a moment. Okay, so an American Express walks into a bar in Moscow. Right, the bartender says, sorry mate, you aren't allowed in here without a Visa. Somebody over there got it first. Well done. Oh. Okay, so I have to put credit where credit is due. A lot of this talk comes from bad online donation forms. They're absolutely bad. There's a lot more examples of bad UX. I also want to thanks to Casey. His name is Casey. And I'm happy to take any questions that you might have. I also have a whole bunch of these. They're like USB wristbands kind of things, so they're USB sticks. Who's shouted Visa really loud there? Oh, come on, I see, yeah, he gets the joke. Okay. I got some more and I'm happy to take questions. Cheers, thank you. Oh, over there.
I have a question about tokenization.
You have a question about tokenization?
Okay. So where you are going to store the mapping of tokenization data, in which database you will store this token is mapped to this credit card number, where you will store that data? So for the tokenization,
I'm not sure about the question. You're asking if we store the mapping between the credit card and the
who
token.
is storing that
We're doing that.
So
We're going through all the trouble. We're going through all the trouble of like what's called PCI compliance, level 3 SPA form and everything, like because we're touching all the data, we're processing it and stuff like that. So you don't have to. We need to like yearly we get audited, yearly we go through full research. We need to fill in like a massive form. You just fill in a form with like 10 questions that your CEO can fill in who doesn't understand tech, and we take care of the rest.
No, but you mentioned regarding JP Morgan and their
Yes.
credit card theft.
Yes.
So what happens to them that their database server got hacked and
Yes.
the hackers steal the data from their database server? So even if you are mapping this credit card
Yeah.
with a token, your database
Well, somebody's got to do the mapping at some point. I'm just saying it's harder for you as a small company. Like if you're a startup, that's not your business, right? Your business is whatever the cool thing is that you're doing. That's what you're trying to make your business on, not on learning how to process credit cards. Get what I mean? Anyway, here's the, you got one of the, oh! I almost hit him in the head.
one more question.
Oh, yes, one more question.
So
I think we have more questions. No, we're going to hand it to somebody else. Come on.
No, it's a small one.
Oh, small one. Come on.
Okay, so you mentioned not to mention captcha check on the form.
Yes.
I have seen lots of companies storing the credit card number without CVV. I mean, small companies, small
Yes.
e-commerce.
Yeah.
I hacked some of them and I saw their database,
Yes.
but I don't have CVV. But CVV is like a 3-digit, and
Yes.
you can try brute force those cards. Like
Yes.
you can have maximum combination. You can. So why don't you take a protection against brute force if somebody is trying to hack?
So the question is like, why do some people ask for CVV? Why do some of them not ask for CVV? Why would you even care? The thing is like, it depends on what your business is. If your business is selling something digital, right? Something that doesn't really cost you much to produce, right? If there's fraud, if you have a credit card and you charge it and then a month later the customer goes, oh, you know, that wasn't my credit card, right? And they do a chargeback, it's okay. Like you didn't lose really anything, right? But if you're selling a computer, then you want to be more secure. So you can do a CVV check, sure. You can also do what's called 3D secure, which is where you can send to your bank, etc. But what we do with you is, as a merchant, we've tried to find that balance for you where you get the least amount of false positives, right? But also the least amount of false negatives. You don't want people to get so frustrated by your checkout process that you lose too much money, because it's about risk versus profit, right? So it's a balance between those two. I think there was a question over there.
Yeah, I have a question related to mobile app security, actually.
Yes.
In the case where you are building a mobile app and you want to collect the credit card data inside the mobile app and send it to a payment processor like you, are you allowed to do this? Are you under PCI
with mobile? So the question is, with mobile, can you do everything in the app? No, you need a server-side element for this. Simply because that's how security works. Think about the risk process. You can't do the secure transaction purely on the front end.
No. The question is related to, are you allowed, if you are not PCI DSS compliant, to collect the credit card data inside the mobile app on the client side and send it to you as a...
Yes, but that's because you use our library, and our library does that the PCI compliant way. So that's why you use our library. If you use a different library, you don't get that security, and then you do need to go through PCI compliance processing.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other ones? Over here. Oh, wait, here we go. Woo! Ah, see, I can aim.
Hello?
Yeah, I think it's on.
Do you hear me well?
Yeah, you need to speak louder, because
Okay, I'll try to speak louder. So the first thing, I've had a problem once. I have a MasterCard, and I didn't have a CVV on it. And this was a website that was asking me of a CVV, but I didn't have it. I had 3D secure, and I couldn't go to the next step because it's still...
That's interesting. I've never heard of a MasterCard without a CVV on it.
I have one on me.
It's probably meant to not be used online then.
but it has 3D secure, so...
yeah, that's interesting. That's a problem. I would just talk to, where did you get the card from? From your bank?
Yeah, from my bank.
That's interesting. I do not know the answer to that. That's the first time I've ever heard of that.
And one related to PayPal. So I was in another country.
Yes.
And I wanted to make a PayPal account.
Yes.
And when I clicked the country I was and the billing address, it automatically changed in the language of that country, even though I was not a speaker of that language or something.
I'm not sure I quite heard that. You're asking why when I go to a different country does it change to the other language?
Yeah, it changed to the country where the billing address was the language of the website. Yeah.
So what's the question? Sorry, I can't.
Okay, let's take one more question.
Yeah, sorry, I can't hear you.
One more.
One more in the back? Sorry, you need to speak louder.
Hey, so I was wondering, so you talked about getting the customer as fast as possible to buying something.
Yes.
But there is also a percentage of people who buy something and then return it because it was an impulse buy. So basically you're just pushing some of the people who started, okay, they get put off by CAPTCHA and they think, I'll just think about it. You're just moving them further down the line to the people who then decide, okay, I'm just going to return the product.
Not necessarily. So the question is like when you push people so quickly through, you might get a higher amount of cancellations, right? If you see that, like, certain businesses, you'll see that, especially with like people buying products, expensive products, you'll see that. Now the cool thing is, like, the way credit card processing actually works under the hood is they're actually only settled once a day. Once a day, we the gateway, send it to all the processors and say, hey, you know that job that I told you to do? Please now all send it all to this person's bank account, right? The thing is, you don't need to settle directly. Like, you can, if you cancel before that time, you can cancel before that time completely free. Completely free.
So there is no cost associated
exactly.
To the customer.
So if it's within that time frame. Now, if you see that even people like on a longer time frame need more time, there's about 1 million other kind of business models that you can build around it. Because once you have that credit card, and once you've validated that the credit card is valid, because you can do that without making a transaction, yeah, you have somebody's credit card. So you can charge it 2 days later. You can ship them the product and ship it and charge it 2 days later. Or charge it, put it in an escrow, and then decide 2 days later whether or not you actually want to get it, or if you want to revert the escrow. So there's about 1 million different ways of doing exactly that to kind of mitigate that risk. But honestly, like, if you're starting a new company, what I would do is like just implement it the simple way. And then once you start seeing these kind of things, you just call us and go, hey, I'm seeing this kind of behavior. What do you think I should do? And we often have seen this stuff like 1 million times before.
Okay, thanks.
You get one of these, but I'm not going to throw it because I don't want to hit everybody in the face. See, this we can do. Awesome. I got a few more of these, so I think we need to call it quit.
But you're in the break here.
I'm here. Yeah, I'll be somewhere around here, so come and find me.
They can ask you more questions.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you, Cristiano.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.